My name is Tyler Briggs, and I've been carrying this weight for 3 years now. 3 years of waking up at 2:47 in the morning, drenched in sweat, still hearing that sound, that wet, rhythmic breathing coming from somewhere beneath me. My wife Sarah left 8 months ago, said she couldn't take the nightmares anymore, couldn't take me checking the basement every night, couldn't take the way I'd freeze up whenever we drove past a tunnel or an underpass. 14 years of marriage, 2 kids in college, and she just couldn't take it anymore. I don't blame her. Some things break you in ways that can't be fixed. I've never told anyone the full story of what happened beneath Blackstone Federal Penitentiary. Not the cops who found us stumbling out of the woods, not the prison psychologist who kept asking why I screamed in my sleep, not even Sarah when she begged me to explain why I'd changed. But I'm telling it now because the others who were there, the ones who made it out, they've all gone silent. Vincent won't return my calls, and I keep seeing things in the news, small stories buried in local papers about people going missing near those West Virginia mountains. I need someone else to know what's down there, what's still waiting. It started on March 15th, 2020. I remember the exact date because it was my daughter Emma's birthday, and I'd been counting the days until I could call her from the payphone in Block C. I was serving year 4 of a 7-year sentence for armed robbery at a convenience store in Martinsburg. Stupidest decision of my life. I was desperate, broke, 3 months behind on the mortgage, and I thought a ski mask and my grandfather's revolver would solve everything. It didn't. The gun wasn't even loaded, but that didn't matter to the judge. Blackstone Federal Penitentiary sat about 47 miles southeast of Charleston, deep in the Appalachian Mountains near a town called Beckley that most people have never heard of. The prison was built in 1943 on top of what used to be the Blackstone Mining Company, a coal operation that had been digging tunnels through those mountains since 1881. The mining company went bankrupt in 1940 after a collapse killed 37 men in Shaft 7. They sealed up the tunnels, sold the land to the state, and 3 years later, the first inmates arrived at the new federal penitentiary. Have you ever been somewhere that felt wrong? Not dangerous exactly, but wrong, like the air itself was holding its breath? That was Blackstone. The walls sweated year-round, even in winter when the temperature dropped below freezing. The lights flickered at exactly 2:47 every morning, just for a second, like the building was blinking. And sometimes, late at night, you could feel vibrations coming up through the concrete floor. The old-timers said it was just the mountain settling, the abandoned mine shafts shifting under the weight of all that rock. But it didn't feel like settling. It felt like breathing. Shared a cell in Block C with a guy named Vincent Torres. Everyone called him V. He was 43 years old, doing 15 years for manslaughter. Beat a man to death outside a bar in Huntington after the guy made a comment about V's daughter. The way V told it, the guy had been following his 17-year-old girl for weeks, showing up at her school, her workplace, sending her messages. The cops wouldn't do anything, so V did. I believed him. You spend enough time locked up with someone, you learn to read them. V wasn't a violent man. He was a father who'd run out of options. We got along because neither of us played the games that ran through the cell blocks like poison. The gangs, the politics, the constant jockeying for position and respect. We just wanted to do our time and get out. V had a wife waiting for him, Maria, who drove 4 hours every other Sunday to sit across from him in the visitation room. I had Sarah and the kids, though the calls were getting shorter and the visits less frequent. That's what prison does. It doesn't just lock you away from the world. It slowly erases you from the lives of everyone you love. The rumors about escaping Blackstone had been circulating since before I arrived. Every prison has them, these whispered legends about tunnels and blind spots and guards who could be bought. Old man Hendricks in Block A swore there was a drainage pipe that ran all the way to the new river 12 miles south. Martinez in the kitchen claimed he knew a guard who'd look the other way for $10,000. It was all fantasy, of course, the kind of hopeful thinking that keeps men from going insane in a place designed to break them. But in December of 2019, something changed. A new inmate arrived on our block. His name was Samuel Decker, and from the moment I saw him, I knew he was different. Mid-50s, gray hair cropped short, with a kind of weathered face that suggested he'd lived several hard lifetimes before ending up in that orange jumpsuit. He had pale blue eyes, almost gray, that seemed to look through walls instead of at them. And there was something about the way he moved through the prison, slow and deliberate, like a man who was exactly where he wanted to be. It was V who first noticed Decker's strange behavior. Every night after lights out, around 2:30 in the morning, Decker would climb down from his bunk and press his ear against the concrete floor. He'd stay like that for hours, not moving, barely breathing, just listening. His cellmate, a kid named Danny doing 3 years for drug possession, said it creeped him out so bad he requested a transfer. The request was denied. "What's he listening for?" I asked V one night, keeping my voice low. V shrugged, but I could see the curiosity in his eyes. Danny asked him once, "You know what Decker said?" "What?" "He said he was listening to the mountain breathe." 3 weeks after Decker arrived, I found myself working the same shift as him in the laundry room. It was a Thursday, I remember, because Thursdays were when they washed the sheets from the infirmary, and those always smelled like bleach and something worse underneath, something organic. I was folding a stack of pillowcases when Decker appeared beside me. He didn't say anything at first, just started folding alongside me like we'd been doing this together for years. "You want out," he said finally. His voice was calm, matter-of-fact, like he was commenting on the weather. I kept my eyes on the pillowcases. "Everyone wants out. But you're different, Briggs. You're not broken yet. I can see it in the way you walk, the way you hold your shoulders. You still think there's something waiting for you on the other side of those walls. A wife, kids maybe, a life worth getting back to." I didn't respond. In prison, you learn quickly that words can be weapons. Giving someone too much information is like handing them a loaded gun and hoping they don't pull the trigger. Decker continued anyway, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "This prison was built on top of the old Blackstone Mining Company. They dug tunnels through this mountain for 60 years before the company went bankrupt. When the state bought the land, they were supposed to fill in all the shafts with concrete. But concrete is expensive, so they just sealed them up instead. Figured nobody would ever know the difference." He paused, checking to make sure the guard stationed near the door wasn't paying attention. The guard, a heavy-set man named Perkins, who'd been working at Blackstone for 20 years, was reading a magazine and picking his teeth. "There's a tunnel," Decker said. "Starts in the basement of the old maintenance building on the east side of the yard. the one they use for storage now. It connects to shaft 4 of the original mine system, runs about 2 miles northwest under the mountain, and comes out in a ravine near County Road 19. I know because I helped build this prison. 40 years ago, I was on the construction crew. I was the one who suggested they seal the tunnel instead of filling it. Saved the state about $2 million. My hands had stopped moving. I was staring at him now, trying to read his face for any sign of deception. Why are you telling me this? Because I can't do it alone. I'm 63 years old with a bad knee and worse lungs. I need men I can trust, men who have something to lose and everything to gain. His pale eyes locked onto mine. I've been watching you, Briggs. You and your cellmate. You're not like the others. You haven't let this place turn you into animals. Not yet. How do I know this isn't a setup? How do I know you're not working with the guards? Decker smiled, and for just a second, I saw something flicker in those pale eyes. Something that might have been desperation, or something else entirely. You don't, he said, but ask yourself this. What's worse? Spending 3 more years in this place, watching your wife stop coming to visit, listening to your kids' voices get more distant on the phone, or taking a chance on a tunnel that might not exist? That night, I told V everything. We sat on his bunk in the darkness, speaking in whispers, while the other inmates snored and muttered in their sleep. When I finished, V was quiet for a long moment. I could see him thinking, weighing the risks, calculating the odds the way he always did. It's probably a trap, he said finally. Could be working with the administration. Could be setting us up for something. I know. Could add another 20 years to our sentences, or worse. I know that too. V turned to look at me, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw something other than resignation in his eyes. Maria's pregnant, he said quietly. Found out last month. She's due in July. I got 11 more years on my sentence, Tyler. 11 years. My kid's going to be in middle school before I get out. They won't even know who I am. So you're in. V exhaled slowly, like a man making peace with something. Yeah, I'm in. What would you do if freedom was just a tunnel away? Would you risk everything for a chance to see your family again? The planning took 3 months. Decker was methodical, patient. He'd been thinking about this for 40 years, ever since he'd walked out of Blackstone after construction, knowing he'd left himself a back door. We recruited 2 more. Ray Patterson, a former electrician doing 7 years for wire fraud, knew security systems better than the maintenance staff. The other was a guy everyone called Ghost. Real name Anthony Reeves. He had an almost supernatural ability to move without being seen. Even the guards forgot he existed sometimes. The date was set for March 15th, the Ides of March. The night arrived cold and clear, with a half moon watching our every move. At 9:42 p.m., Ghost disabled the camera covering the maintenance building. Ray got the door open while guards were distracted by a fight we'd arranged near Block B. V and I followed, hearts pounding. The maintenance building was a squat brick structure, 60 years old. The door groaned as we slipped inside, and then we were in darkness so complete it felt like being swallowed. Basement stairs are in the back, Decker whispered behind us. Stay close. Don't turn on your lights until we're underground. The basement smelled like mold and rust and something organic underneath. Our flashlights cut weak beams through the blackness. Decker led us to a section of wall that looked like all the others. When he pressed a specific brick, a section swung inward, revealing a hole just large enough for a man to crawl through. The smell hit us immediately, damp earth and stale air, and something else that made my stomach clench. A place that had been waiting in the dark. "This is it," Decker said. "The tunnel runs about 2 miles. Should take us an hour if we move steady. Stay together. Don't stop for anything." Ghost went first, disappearing into the darkness without hesitation. Ray followed, then V, then me. Decker came last, pulling the hidden door shut behind us. I heard it click into place, sealing us in, and suddenly the weight of all that rock and earth above us felt very real. The tunnel was narrow, maybe 4 feet wide and 6 feet tall, with walls of rough-hewn stone glistening with moisture. Wooden support beams lined the ceiling, gray with age. The floor was scattered with loose rocks and puddles that soaked through our shoes. We walked in silence for 20 minutes. The tunnel sloped downward, taking us deeper into the mountain. I focused on V's back in front of me, on putting one foot in front of the other. Have you ever been somewhere so dark, so deep, that you could feel the weight of it pressing against your mind? That's what the tunnel was like. It wasn't just the absence of light. It was the presence of something else, something that had been down there for a very long time, waiting in the darkness. "The tunnel splits," Ghost said, his voice tight. Decker said it was straight. He didn't say anything about a fork. Decker pushed past me. His flashlight swept across the passage ahead, revealing what Ghost meant. 2 separate tunnels, both disappearing into blackness. "This wasn't here before," Decker said. For the first time, I heard fear in his voice. The tunnel was straight. There was no fork. "Tunnels don't appear out of nowhere," Ray said, voice rising. "Keep your voice down," V hissed. "Sound carries." We stood there, 5 men staring at an impossibility. The air felt colder here, and that organic smell was stronger. "Left," Decker said finally. "The original tunnel went left. This other one must be from the old mining days, a shaft they didn't put on the maps. We go left." We took the left passage. What choice did we have? The tunnel grew narrower, the ceiling dropping until we had to crouch. The stone walls were darker here, almost black, and seemed to pulse in our flashlight beams, like it was breathing. That's when Ghost stopped again. "Do you hear that?" We all froze, listening. At first, there was nothing but our own ragged breathing and the distant drip of water echoing somewhere in the darkness. But then, underneath those sounds, I heard something else. A low, rhythmic sound, like air moving through a massive set of lungs. In, out, slow and patient, like something that had all the time in the world. "It's just air currents," Ray said, but his voice was shaking. "Old mines have weird acoustics. It's just the mountain settling." "That's not settling," V said quietly. He was staring at something on the wall, his flashlight beam fixed on a specific spot. I moved closer to see what he was looking at. It was a handprint, pressed into the solid stone like the rock had been soft as clay when something touched it. But the proportions were wrong. The fingers were too long, the palm too wide, and there were 6 fingers instead of 5. "We need to go back," Ghost said. His voice cracked on the last word. "Right now. We need to go back right now." "We can't go back," Decker replied. "The alarm's been raised by now. They're searching the prison. The only way out is forward." "Forward to what?" Ghost was backing away from the handprint, his flashlight beam shaking wildly. What the hell made that? Before anyone could answer, our flashlights flickered, all of them simultaneously, dimming to almost nothing before stuttering back to life. In that moment of near darkness, I saw something, a shape at the edge of the light, tall and thin and wrong, proportions stretched like a reflection in a funhouse mirror. It was there for just a fraction of a second, and then the light steadied and it was gone. Did you see that? I grabbed V's arm hard enough to leave bruises. Tell me you saw that. V's face was pale, his jaw tight. I saw it. Keep moving. Whatever it is, we can't fight it. We can only outrun it. We ran, 5 men stumbling through the darkness, our flashlight beams cutting wild arcs through the black, our breath coming in ragged gasps. The tunnel twisted and turned in ways that made no sense, doubling back on itself, opening into chambers we hadn't passed before, narrowing to gaps we had to squeeze through one at a time. And all the while, that breathing grew louder, closer. Ghost was the first to disappear. One moment he was ahead of us, moving through the darkness like he always did, silent and sure. The next moment he was simply gone. No scream, no struggle, no sound at all. Just empty space where a man had been a second before. His flashlight lay on the tunnel floor, still glowing, illuminating nothing but stone. "Anthony!" V called out, his voice echoing off the walls. "Ghost, where are you?" No response, just that rhythmic breathing, louder now, surrounding us. "We have to keep moving," Decker said. He was shaking badly, his flashlight beam trembling against the walls. "We can't stop. If we stop, it'll—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Ray was next. He stumbled over something in the darkness, went down hard, and before any of us could reach him, the shadow seemed to swallow him whole. I heard a sound that might have been a scream, but it was cut off so quickly it could have been my imagination. And then silence. V grabbed my arm and pulled me forward. "Don't look back. Whatever you do, don't look back." I didn't look back. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs threatened to give out. I ran until the tunnel suddenly, impossibly, opened into a chamber filled with pale, sickly light. Moonlight. Real moonlight, filtering down through a crack in the ceiling far above us. We had found the exit, or at least an exit. Decker was ahead of us, already scrambling up the rocky slope toward that precious light. V and I followed, climbing over boulders and loose stone, our hands bleeding from the sharp edges. Behind us, the darkness seemed to press forward, that breathing growing louder, more insistent. I could feel something behind me now, close enough to touch, a coldness that seeped through my clothes and into my bones, into my soul. V made it out first. I was right behind him, hauling myself through the crack, collapsing onto frozen ground, gasping, crying, alive. We were in a forest, tall pines surrounding us, snow covering the ground, the moon hanging full and bright overhead. The most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "Decker," I managed between gasps. "Where's Decker?" V pointed. About 20 feet away, Decker stood at the edge of a small clearing. He wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at something we couldn't see. We approached him slowly. "Samuel, we made it. We're out." He turned to face us, and what I saw made me stumble backward. His eyes were wrong. That pale blue had been replaced by something else, something that reflected the moonlight like polished silver. And he was smiling, a smile too wide for his face, stretching his skin in ways that didn't look human. "You made it," he said, but his voice was different, layered, like multiple people speaking at once. Some of you, anyway. That's more than I expected. What the hell are you talking about? What happened down there? Decker, or whatever was wearing Decker's face, tilted his head at an angle that made my skin crawl. The mountain was hungry, Tyler. It's been hungry for a very long time. When they built the prison, they sealed it away, cut off its food supply. No more miners stumbling into the deep shafts. No more offerings. I've been trying to find a way to feed it for 40 years. The realization hit me like a physical blow. You set us up. This whole thing was a trap. The tunnel is real. The exit is real. But the mountain takes its toll. 3 souls for everyone that passes through. A fair trade, don't you think? Ghost, Ray, and... He paused, that horrible smile widening. Well, we'll see. V lunged at him, but Decker moved with impossible speed, stepping aside and vanishing into the darkness between the trees. His laughter echoed through the forest, mixing with that terrible breathing sound that I realized had followed us out of the tunnel. We ran. V and I ran until we found a road, flagged down a passing truck, made it to a gas station where we called the police. We told them about the escape, about the tunnel, but we didn't tell them what we found down there. Who would believe us? They sent us back to prison, of course, different facilities, separated. I served out my remaining time in Ohio, counting the days, trying not to think about what was still down there, still breathing, still waiting. 3 months after our escape, Blackstone Federal Penitentiary was shut down. The official story was structural instability. They evacuated everyone in the middle of the night, sealed the building, and never explained why. I found out later that 47 inmates and 12 staff members were listed as missing that night. Just gone, no trace. V won't talk about it anymore. I tracked him down in Pittsburgh last year, showed up at his apartment. He opened the door looking like a ghost himself. Thin, pale, dark circles under his eyes. "You shouldn't have come," he said quietly. "I need to know what really happened, what we saw down there." He grabbed my arm, pulled me close. "It doesn't feed on flesh, Tyler. It feeds on hope. Every prisoner who ever dreamed of escape, every man who ever thought there might be a way out. The mountain's been collecting those dreams for 100 years, and now it's full enough to wake up." He closed the door before I could ask more. His apartment's been empty ever since. Vincent Torres, just like the others, simply ceased to exist. I think about what he said sometimes, about hope being something that could be consumed, and I've realized something. Since that night, I haven't felt hope. Not really. There's a hole inside me where that feeling used to live, and nothing I do can fill it. Sometimes, late at night, I hear that breathing, that slow, rhythmic sound, like a mountain drawing breath. I tell myself it's just my imagination, just trauma. But then I remember Decker's words. 3 souls for everyone that passes. Ghost and Ray paid our toll that night. But what about V? What about me? I've been waiting 3 years for something to come collecting. Every shadow, every unexpected sound, every moment of darkness. I'm waiting. And somewhere deep in that mountain, something is waiting too. Tell me in the comments, if you had found that tunnel, would you have taken the chance? Would you have traded the certainty of prison for the unknown darkness beneath the earth? Because I made that choice, and I'm still not sure if I escaped or if I just brought something back with me, something patient, something hungry. Some nights I swear I can still hear it breathing, waiting, forever hungry.